Hardware reviews don't happen a whole lot for me, but this one is a bit special. The company Nyxi reached out and asked me to cover their big Joy-Con Split Pad Pro-like controllers for the Switch. They looked pretty neat, so I jumped at the opportunity. And before we get into it, you can grab these on Nyxi's website. They will run you about $46 on sale with an MSRP of $70, just a bit less than the Nintendo-made Joy-Con controllers. And if you end up buying a pair after watching this review, I'll leave my referral code in the description of this video. That'll give a little back to me from this collaboration I'm doing. Anyways, let's get past all of that. Here is my review of the Nyxi wireless joypads for the Nintendo Switch. In terms of design, these look similar to the Split Pad Pro. They're Joy-Cons, but with a large grip-like body to resemble console controllers. They come with a USB-C charging cable and grip attachment they can slide into to be a controller, much like Nintendo's own Joy-Con grip, but a bit wider. This gives the size of the quote-unquote controller they make to be virtually the same width as an Xbox Series X controller. As for the controllers themselves, they have all the buttons you'd find on the Joy-Cons, but a bit larger in size. Face buttons, plus and minus, a D-pad, home and screenshot, the 4 triggers. The analog sticks are also larger than the ones on the Joy-Con. For the sake of comparison, they're about the same size as what you would find on a DualShock 4. But the back has new additions. We have some programmable back buttons as well as some for turbo mode and LED customization. That might just be for looks, but you can hold buttons down to change the color of the LED lights around each analog stick. They start blue out of the box, but you can see that I've altered mine to be purple. For charging, it's a little interesting. They will charge when connected to a Switch in docked or handheld mode, but each controller has a USB-C port on the bottom for charging from the cable. So if you only need to charge one of them, you can. Now let's go into them being attached to the Switch. They slide on just like a normal Joy-Con. There is a little bit of weird resistance when being put on for the first few days, but it'll get smoother the more you do it. Once they're on, thankfully they're out far enough that they won't bump into a dock for docked mode, though they do extend behind the system a little bit in handheld mode. This makes it very difficult to use the Switch's kickstand to hold it up with them attached. Next, let's go into features and functionality. Can these do everything the Joy-Cons can? They've got all the same buttons and have built-in vibration and gyro, so any game that needs HD rumble or motion controls, be it motion aiming or flicking, they can do it. I'll get into how well they do it in the next section. Another feature you might not expect is waking the Switch from sleep mode. These controllers can do that wirelessly and faster than the Joy-Cons can. You just press the home or screenshot button for about half a second and the Switch will wake up instantly. The only feature missing here is the NFC Reader for amiibos. While not that many games anymore even use the feature, if you want to scan amiibos or figures for Skylanders, Zelda, or Smash Brothers, you gotta use a different controller. Now let's go into performance and handling. These controllers have a good feel to them. You can't completely wrap your fingers around them like an Xbox or PlayStation controller, but it's easy to grip them and it feels pretty good. The only weirdness that comes with this is using them in their grip. These controllers are very light and sometimes feel a little too light by themselves. I'd say they've got about half the weight of the Joy-Cons, so it was a bit of an adjustment with how oddly light they feel. But the feel of the buttons is good. The face and D-pad buttons have a nice click to them, the analogs have a fair grip, and it all around just felt good to use them. There's only one thing about functionality that I really don't like. They will idle and turn themselves off as soon as the Switch goes into its lower brightness mode. So you can't idle or watch cutscenes in a visual novel for more than 5 or 10 minutes before the controllers will just turn off. But let's dive into performance. Do the buttons have delay, lag? Do the analogs have dead zones? I actually got asked this when I put up my unboxing video, so I did a bit of testing. As far as dead zones go, the analogs do have a very slight delay, as you can see here in this comparison. This is the calibration for the analog sticks on these Nyxi controllers, and this is the same calibration, or as close as I could get it, with the Joy-Cons. You can see a very slight difference in the two. The same goes for buttons when using them wirelessly. To test the reflexes, I went into rhythm games like Demo, Project Diva Megamix, and Super Beat Sonic, and all three had the same conclusion. The Joy-Cons had a slightly faster response time when compared to the Nyxi joypads, but this was only in docked mode. In handheld mode, I found no delay or lag at all. Though, to be honest, I didn't notice there was a difference at all until I started extensively testing and looking for it. What about the motion and gyro? The controllers actually use them pretty well. For these tests, I went into Breath of the Wild, Skyrim, Doom Eternal, and Borderlands 2 for aiming, and tested flick-based motion with Fitness Boxing 1 and 2 along with Knockout Home Fitness. For aiming, it was the same as the physical buttons. A very slight and tiny delay. If you weren't looking for it, you probably wouldn't even notice. But with the flicking, I went through several days of daily exercises in the Fitness Boxing and Knockout games and didn't even notice a difference. It registers in those games just as well as the Joy-Cons do, though I probably wouldn't recommend you use them for those exercise games, as the big bulky design makes it a lot easier for your hands to slip and accidentally throw the controllers. And now let's go into battery life, the major thing that the Joy-Cons have over these. Nintendo's controllers supposedly can last up to 20 to 30 hours on a single charge, but these Nyxi wireless joypads only last around 8. Granted, most people won't spend more than that in a single day anyways, but it's worth noting that the battery life is much smaller here. Now, in conclusion, the Nyxi wireless joypads are an interesting alternative to the Split Pad Pro and turn out to be pretty good controllers. While the slight delay when used wirelessly could cause some adjustments for rhythm games, they feel and perform surprisingly well. If you want something for bigger hands and don't care about the NFC Reader, I love them and plan on continuing to use them for the foreseeable future. Reviews to Go rates the Nyxi wireless joypads for the Nintendo Switch an 8.5 out of 10. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them below. Thank you for watching and have a great day.